years on me though, so I don't know. He's got some nice stuff. I need to work, but he's got some nice product he uses.
So that's what you're asking the veteran for
Yeah,
then?
it was like one of the first things I asked.
Added years don't usually help on this contest.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so let me go back to what I asked you yesterday. What do you feel like you've gotten to this point out of your first major league camp?
Yeah, so the main thing is just kind of like I said yesterday, just like the experience of it, just getting to be around some of those guys, the Seagers, Simeons, guys like that, guys who've done it before you. That's been the coolest thing for me, is just to see how they go about it. And then just to be in the locker room, kind of get comfortable, like feel like you kind of belong a little bit, but also still like knowing you got to work to get there. So that's been cool.
What have you, in particular, I mean, being around Simeon and Seager, these are the guys that are supposed to be the foundation of the future, and you were part of that group that was brought in for that kind of leadership camp. So you're looking in some ways as potentially in that role at some point. So how do you kind of observe what they do and how they kind of interact in the clubhouse?
Yeah, so for me, like, I always try to get here kind of early just to, like, kind of do my thing, like, do my routine and stuff, and Simeon's always the first guy here, and so I think that shows just kind of a lot about who he is. First one in the weight room, I think that's really cool. Just kind of shows, like, that guy, he's done his part, done everything he can. He's still in here working hard, and that kind of just shows, like, a young guy like me and Bubba and Davis kind of like how to go about it, and so that's really cool.
The fact that you, Davis, and Bubba have all had impressive springs, my words. What do you think that does for kind of just the overall message about where the minor league system is?
Yeah, I mean, I think just within the past couple years or months or whatever, you've seen the kind of development of the minor leagues here kind of shoot up a little bit. And then we're all here for like a little mini camp, and I think the mini camp you're seeing kind of paid off a little bit. We got some good work in. I think that's been really beneficial for us and to the guys at the top of the system making good moves and stuff. And I think that shows a lot about where this organization's headed. So.
How did third base feel yesterday?
I felt good, actually. Yeah, I felt pretty comfortable. It's been a while. I think I last played there like in college my freshman year, but it was good.
You didn't play any third last year? It was all second and short?
I played one game at second, and then the rest at shortstop.
Everything was at shortstop.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You never faced Crochet in college?
No, so they came to our place in college my sophomore year, but I was hurt the whole year, so I didn't face him. But we did. One of my buddies hit a walk-off home run against him, so I do remember that.
So when you're facing him the other day, that's the first time, clearly.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever faced him.
So, like, what was your kind of thought process going into the at-bat?
Yeah, so...
Because you had followed Marisnik up, right?
Yeah. So for me, I guess, like, with guys like that, like, who can really pitch it, it's like those are the guys you want to face, because I've always kind of said it's like a win-win. Like, if you get a hit, awesome. If you get out, you're supposed to get out against those guys, so... I love like that challenge of getting to face guys like that who can really pitch it. And then he threw me a fastball that I was kind of looking for, and I got a good swing off on it, so that was pretty cool.
Perfect.
Have you played any outfield at all in camp?
Really just I've done like some BP work out there, just like shagging balls and stuff, but not in a game. But we'll see, I guess.
You've been, we're talking about results because people on TV said you may have gotten hosed on the first one yesterday, but you've been pretty active once you get on base. Has that been a specific point of focus for you? Or
yeah, so I try to incorporate that into my game, just trying to take an extra bag when I can. I did get pumped out twice yesterday, so that was tough, but just keep being aggressive. I guess that's what kind of player I am, so just try to, any chance we can, try to steal if we can, if it's there, if it's not, whatever.
Hey, I mean, if you're gonna get thrown out, by all means, spring training, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you stole third base the other day, but the two caught stealings yesterday. Is there anything that you took out of those that you felt like is usable information?
Yeah. So the first one I got thrown out on yesterday. I guess a little biased. I thought I was safe, but they did call me out, so I was out. But I got a good jump on that one, and then the next one I got a bad jump, and I should have shut it down, but kind of learning. So I guess, and I went and shouldn't have got out. So
perfect.
How's camp been going so far?
It's really good. A lot of guys in the clubhouse here to compete. Yeah, just having fun.
A lot of new faces, seems like a new energy. How would you compare the vibe in camp this year to maybe some of the past few years?
Yeah, it's different. You can tell people in here are on a mission. We're here to win. Every day you're competing with somebody, and it's been good.
A lot of big league experience in the catcher's room, so to speak. What's that dynamic been like, and how have you guys all been feeding off of one another?
It's been good. Bobby's been doing a good job kind of getting all of us to have that dialogue with everybody, even the pitching coaches, and talking about all the arms that we got too. But bouncing ideas off each other, whether it's signs or sequences or anything like that, it's been good.
Saw John Gray on the mound for the first time yesterday. Obviously one of the big offseason additions. What do you see from him, and what can you share with us about your time with him so far?
It's been good. He's been he learned a couple new pitches. He threw a few yesterday. I mean, it's going to be fun to catch him. I think he's a good addition to our team, and he threw the ball well yesterday for me. There's some things that, of course, he's going to want to work on, but for me, it was really fun. It's something to be excited about.
What are some of the things you've been working on, whether it's behind the plate or at the plate, coming into the spring?
Yeah, at the plate, just looking for my direction to be back up the middle, keep barreling baseballs, and then they fall, they fall. Behind the plate, just keep making strides to get better every day.
How tough has it been, condensed camp? You got a lot of new arms on the mound to go through your process of connecting with them, understanding what they like to do, and developing that relationship between pitcher and catcher?
I feel like it hadn't been that hard for me. I kind of know most of them, whether I faced them or know something about them, or maybe we got them before the lockout. But I know something about usually all the guys. But it's been all right, not too crazy. But I think the hardest part is actually like getting to catch them and seeing what their ball does, seeing where their misses are, seeing what they're comfortable with, and kind of getting dialogue from them to be like, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I think it's been good.
I know you've always kind of taken pride in being a leader in the clubhouse. Team acquired Matt Carpenter, who has had a ton of success and has sort of taken on that sort of a role as a veteran. You've played with guys like Hunter Pence before, and I guess Sam, what have you taken away from Matt, and what sort of conversations have you had with him since he's been here?
He's a pro, man. It's been cool. Like, I usually get here early to the field, to the locker room, but this dude's already dressed and ready to go. So like, him being the leader, he not only like talks about it, he is about it. Like, everything he does is about leadership, and it's been pretty cool to kind of just watch him and how he goes about his business.
I felt a lot better, a lot connected. I mean, the first outing, just getting the jitters out of the way, getting that feeling of being competitive again. But this time kind of felt a little bit more normal, just getting in the routine and be able to go out there and compete. But yeah, I felt really good up there.
So you felt more normal. How did that play out in terms of, I guess, execution of pitches?
Just being a lot more consistent in the strike zone. I mean, in that first outing, it was definitely very amped up. Just, always have the butterflies in the stomach in the first one, and then just going out there and being able to come out this time where it just feels, like I belong there again. But everything felt like it was really good, just being able to be more consistent on the plate and be able to found the strike zone.
Woody mentioned today that you have a new slider.
Yes. I threw it twice, and they were both horrible. Yeah, they were so bad they were not even near the strike zone. But yeah, so something to work on still. I needed to rip it a little bit more, and just kind of left it a little bit arm side. And, that's just going to be adjustment, and I just need that repetition on it, that's all. But yeah, so I threw it twice, and it was terrible.
What's the difference between this one and the other one?
So the slider that I normally throw, it's a little bit more vertical, and it's got, I don't know if you know baseball numbers wise, but it's about 7 inches on both horizontal and negative. This new slider I throw is about 20 inches horizontal, and probably like more. It's more like a sideways curveball.
Let me ask you this: did Sags teach you this?
He did, yes, yeah.
When?
Well, we've kind of. This spring training is where I picked it up. He actually didn't come up to me and do it. I actually just started throwing it just to mess around, and The numbers are actually really good on it, so it was something I wanted to incorporate on my repertoire because, like Corey Kluber is a person who I idolize a lot, and like I like the way he attacks. We're very similar in our stuff, and I mean he's got a more horizontal curveball that he throws, and he throws it efficiently, and it works. And it's something different that hitters haven't seen and everything. So it's something that I wanted to try to incorporate into mine as well.
Because it sounds very much like John Gray's new slider.
Yes, very similar, very similar. Yep.
So, are you planning on throwing both sliders?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And are you throwing a curveball at all?
I am still, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I threw one today and actually was actually really good. Probably a ball, but Jonah actually was fantastic back there and was able to steal a strike for me. But yeah, I still throw the curveball, still throw my normal slider and everything. But yeah, just incorporating another big slider. So now it's 5 pitches or something like that. A lot of pitches.
Do we have a name for this other slider, the new slider? Does it have a name?
It doesn't so far. I mean, Sags is the one that really comes up with it, so I'm gonna let him name it.
Okay.
I'll let him be the deciding factor on that.
Okay. But it's a more horizontal slider.
Yes.
More horizontal movement.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have a baseball around? Do you know the curve difference?
I don't have a baseball.
Every once in a while, like, you just drop something on us. It's
Oh, no.
like
What did I say?
incredibly significant. What, do you have something you'd like to say? All right. So yesterday you talked about the 3-2 walks. The
Yes.
full count walks.
Extremely excited about that.
Why?
For a number of reasons. It's something that we have addressed, obviously, with the entire group. You just look at a lot of 3-2 numbers, and a lot of it has to do with the anxiety of the situation. For some reason, I was a hitter, so I know what that feels like. 3-2 count, whether you're either going from an advantage count or behind in the count to get to that 3-2 count. And a lot of times, for some reason, as hitters, we think we're going to get a fastball down the middle. We think we're going to get a pitch to hit, and sometimes we do. But the chase, the amount of chase in that situation compared to every other count is pretty remarkable. To think that's just across the league. We were not very good at it, and we addressed it many times. But to see our guys really buying into staying stubborn and saying, listen, most pitchers, they don't even throw 50% strikes sometimes in that count. We have to be really patient. It's either a walk or a strikeout if we get a bad pitch or a weak ground ball or something out of the strike zone. The number of hits that you get out of the strike zone in a 3-2 count is pretty minimal. Like, if we can just stay stubborn, we force teams to throw the ball over the plate, or we take what's given to us. And yesterday it won the game for us. And I know that Adolis has one of the higher swing/chase percentages in 3-2 counts.
Highest, but okay.
Exactly. So you talk about a low-hanging fruit for a player on our team, one player in particular, let alone the rest of the lineup. But for that one player to do it twice in a spring. Now, listen, the challenge will be their deck, 40,000 people, expectations, matters. If he can maintain that calm composure and be willing to pass the baton to the next guy, somebody good is going to be behind him, and we're going to reap benefits of that.
So literally the swing rate was, I think, the highest in baseball.
Yep.
I didn't
Maybe
go
him
back
Kiner.
and look at your
I
whole
think him
team.
and Kiner were two of the top.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's all about anxiety. It's just like trying to do too much, and the at-bats, like, I got to get this done. And for some reason, that spikes in the 3-2 count. Some guys just with 2 strikes, but 3-2 count, there's something obviously going on across the league where it's hard for guys to control their heart rate. And I've told our guys, and Donnie and Tim have said this as well, we're not afraid to go up there and strike out looking on a perfect pitch if it's not in the area we're looking. And if that's the case, good luck to you pitchers trying to throw that perfect pitch, and we can still foul it off.
Sure.
It's not like we're going to take it every time, but if they make a perfect pitch on us, we'd be willing to, 2 out of 10 times strike out looking as opposed to chasing 80% of the time.
He said both the pitches were changeups down,
Yeah.
and particularly sliders down below the zone where he chased.
Or even fastballs up.
Those were the 2 pitches.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, if he can do that, and one of them looked like more of a ball out of hand the first one I think was the one that kind of impressed me. It looked like as it was going to the plate, it looked a pretty good strike to ball pitch. I wasn't sure where it was on the plate, but the fact that it was actually over the plate tells me that for him to check that off, next guy gets a base hit. Bubba's obviously pinch ran for him. We score a run with 2 outs because of an error, and then Solak gets a 2-run homer and we win the game. Like that's going to happen during the season.
So I'm just because I asked him this about like the anxiety. I didn't use the word anxiety level, but clearly, I mean that's what it was. But when you address that, or when your guys addressed that with him, what feedback did he give you about?
Awesome. No, he celebrates that. I mean, he was excited yesterday, and I know.
No, what feedback does he give you about the level of anxiety that he had?
Listen, anxiety is a word that's like hard to. It's in clinical terms, it's hard to use nowadays because it's like I don't want to say this guy deals with anxiety. Like everybody does. Anxious is more of the word. Obviously, it's derivative off the word, but it's. You look at just being anxious of being like trying to do too much. It's like if we can just lower our heart rates in that situation, our whole goal is to get guys to be calm in big moments. Like I just literally told our position player group just now, like how we deal with pressure is everything. If we're going to be a championship team, we have to be able to deal with pressure, and that starts. We haven't even played a game yet, but if we're already focusing on that in spring training, and that's just the focus that we have all the way throughout, when we get in big moments, all of our guys should be able to say, okay, what's my trap? I'm a swing. I love to swing. I want to swing. I don't. My I guess habit is to go be more aggressive in that situation. Just being presented with that information can immediately just go, okay, what do I have to do to combat that? I have to be really selective. Almost look right down the middle and just say anything else I'm not going to swing at. Be willing to strike out looking. If you just tell yourself it's okay if I strike out looking, it's amazing. My heart rate just went down. I know what it's like to hit. I know what it's like with 2 strikes to stand in the box and go, I can't strike out, I can't strike out. As soon as you say I can't strike out, you strike out. You end up chasing, you end up fouling a pitch off that was over your head. And you're like, oh, way to battle. Really? You should have been on first base, right? The good hitters, you see Juan Soto and these guys, I know they're elite. There's no panic ever in the at-bat. 3-2, they're just like, you're going to throw a nasty slider, strike the ball, I'm nice and calm. Oh, okay. You didn't throw me a strike. What it's going to do is going to get us obviously more guys on base, but at some point pitchers are going to get frustrated by throwing balls in that situation and giving up runs because of it. They're going to end up throwing it back over the plate. And that's where we never lose sight of like, hey, if it's down the middle and we're looking for it, we're hammering it. But if it's not, we have to be willing to move aside.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to. If he eliminates chasing that slider down and pitchers can't throw that, then they've got to go to something else.
Eventually they're either going to walk him a ton and his on-base percentage is going to be through the roof, or they're going to eventually come back to the middle of the plate and he's going to do some damage. So he's obviously one of our most talented players, and when he gets the ball down the middle, it's hit hard somewhere, typically out of the ballpark.
So are you saying I'm not making too much of 2 spring training walks?
Not at all. I celebrated him more than any 2 at-bats all spring. Those are the 2 best at-bats I've seen like him have for what we want him to become. And we all need to wrap our arms around that and be like, hey, man, that's a big moment for you. Even if it's in a spring training game on the road, may not seem like much, but for him, those are 2 big at-bats. Like the question.
Woody, why does Nick Solak, what is it about his approach he seems to be able to slug to the opposite field?
Obviously, he's got a ton of strength. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's got a ton of strength through the ball. I think it's the way his swing kind of works. He's really working hard to kind of clean up some of the path. He used to be pretty, like I said, east to west this way, a little bit over the top, very top hand, dominant. And before, I think he's really learning how to use his body a little bit more this way, and his natural ability to just let a ball travel and still slug it, still hit it hard. Yesterday's ball was just, ball out over the plate. Just nobody hits that ball out of the ballpark. But some guys, it's just unique. It's just the way their body moves, the way their hips move. Catching the ball deep for him is where a lot of his damage is. Typically out in front, if that barrel gets around, that's where the top hand used to get him in trouble. A lot of weak ground balls to third or to the left side. He's starting to eliminate those where he's always thinking right center. That's typically where his mind is like, okay, all my direction is to the middle of the field. And he just has a unique ability to let the ball travel and still hit the ball far, you know what I mean, to that side.
And then with Dane, what does he need to do this year to build on last year? What are the next steps for him?
Just execute. I think right now it's just, he wasn't as good as first outing. I'm really excited to get him back out there. I know, with some of the guys, they've changed. He added the grip on his slider. It's going to be a little bit different to kind of replace his curveball. Just talking to Doug and Sags about that. So he's going to have two, unique sliders, I guess, one short, one long. And, he's just got to get good command. I mean, he's got to be able to go out there and execute. And I feel like today is a good day for him. He felt good, the whole leading up to this. So, young starter, obviously, but just got to get us, got to kind of get going. And like a lot of our guys have shown the last couple games, they're starting to execute a little bit better. You see some of the minor league guys that have been here, their execution was better right from the beginning. I expected there to be a little bit of a, oh crap, I got to go. Spring training started. We have short spring training. A lot of these guys put a lot of pressure on their first outing. So hopefully he's just kind of relaxed and he goes out and, like I said, executes his pitches.
Would he, I know velocity is not everything. Is he capable of, or would you like to see him have a little more power to the sinker, or if he's 89, 90, is that okay?
I think ideally we'd like to see it. He would like to see it obviously in the 2-3. He's more effective. Everybody's a little bit more effective when there's a little bit more velo. Sometimes sinker guys benefit from the lack of velo because the ball moves more. But in his case, he pitches better when he's got more power, because then it adds the slider, whichever slider he's using, especially the bigger one. It gets this opportunity where it's, you got swing and miss. The guys will swing over a sinker because they're, concerned about the slider. So I think for him it's better, but we'll see. And then a lot of times to start spring training, sometimes their velo isn't quite what the max is, and that's why hopefully every outing it just gets ticks up a little bit higher. The more comfortable they get on the mound, their body's moving, things just start to loosen up. The arm gets a little bit stronger. Might get up to the 2-3. If he's like that, he's tough to hit.
Well, go ahead, Jim.
I wanted to ask a little bit about Bubba. You mentioned the other day he's a little more, I guess, raw than a guy like Leote or Eli. What does he need to do to, I guess, become a more polished player?
Keep doing what he's doing. I think he's starting to shed that raw, I guess, word, because he's really refining his ability at the plate. He's worked really hard on his approach, staying in the strike zone, understanding who he is. He's got a ton of power. Like, he's a unique guy with speed and power. The other day he had a 3-0 count, in the ninth inning. And I asked him, I said, were you auto-taking there? I got to get on base. And I said, I get it. Like, yeah, it's great to get on base. Like, I love where your mind's at. You can also get on base by hitting the ball in the seats. Like, that gives us a win. That actually wins the game for us. Like, so getting him to understand how much he can impact a game. And now he's really starting to learn the strike zone. He still has his moments where he's like, man, I want to stay on go. But sometimes when I stay on go, I'm like, I end up swinging at everything. I'm like, well, that's where the discipline comes in. Like, your training, your thought process, what you're looking, like where you set your eyes, and all the things that I know, our hitting coaches have, hammered to these guys. You can still be super aggressive, but in a smaller area. He's learning to understand that. He's learning to understand, like, okay, if this guy's ball is moving this way, my zone, I have to get this guy up. He's starting to talk like a hitter now. So I don't like to use the word raw as much anymore, because he's shedding that just by the way he talks and communicates and the way he's playing right now. It's been impressive. And obviously on the bases, like, the raw on the bases is like, are we just going to run? Or are we going to be pretty strategic, understand what this guy's sequence is? Like, okay, what are we keying off of this guy? The other day, I saw the lefty, and he was like, hey, man, this guy's a toe-up guy. He started talking, So like I said, our goal is to shed that raw, Bubba Thompson's raw. And if he becomes like a ball player, and it's just like, hey, man, I'm in tune with everything that's going on in the game, this guy's as talented as anybody we have.
How much is he benefiting from being in big league camp right now?
A ton. I think just the dialogue he's hearing every day. Our, obviously the guys we brought over that we've signed, the guys that we've had previously, the dialogue with our hitting coaches, with Rags and Bees on the base running side, on the defensive side, he's hearing it from everywhere, and he's loving it. I mean, he's obviously, playing really well right now. Every time he gets in there, he's excited to be out there. He just brings an an exuberance to play the game. And this is something I've always been told about him. I haven't been around him a ton, but everybody that's been around him said this guy's like that every single day. Like, and just talking to him, oh man, I gotta be that way. He's a little bit, I love the simplicity that he lives like with. He's like, man, what a great opportunity. I got a uniform on my back, and I get to go out and play baseball today. And it's like that youthful, like 12-year-old mentality is what we're trying to get everybody to be like. So we don't get so stressed out about this or that and expectations. It's like, hey, I got a job to do. I'm going to go out and do it. And he just makes everybody around him better.
How much do we have to? Bubba, Wenzel, and Josh Smith have had exemplary sprints.
Yep.
How much do we need to tamp down excitement because they've had 2+ extra weeks over the other days?
Listen, I don't want to get caught up in in Arizona spring training. I get it, but I think it's the way kind of the way I described Bubba. When you start to see guys take that next step from a mentality standpoint and start to become, listen, it's on them. When they go, if they don't make our team and they go to AAA or wherever they go, they have to maintain that. And the truly great players, they maintain that mentality all the way through. And that's just something that they do. That's something, and they learn to add pieces to that. So, Bubba's biggest thing right now is like, hey man, this has been a great camp. Now go out and dominate. Go out and perform every day. And you start putting expectations like, oh, I'm just gonna happen now because I feel good. No, it's like you have to be on everything that you do. So you can't take a day for granted or a pitch for granted. On defense, you come in, you get a base hit, you should know what that guy's move is. You should know if this guy has a good move. You should know what his, time to home plate is, what the catcher's time is to second base. All those things factor in the batter's box. Every single pitch, every single at bat, you have a plan. However simple that plan is, you have a plan. And if he can do that, and if Josh Smith can do that, and obviously Wenzel and all of our younger players can do that, that's how we elevate everybody. But that's where I'm like, okay, I'm excited. Now go out and dominate. If you can dominate here, you can dominate anywhere. But they let up sometimes. They get to AAA and they think, oh, I got this figured out. And they almost take their foot off the gas a little bit. And then they get their butt kicked for the first 2 weeks because it's cold in April. Then we're like, man, what happened? They had a great spring, but he didn't get off to a good start. It's harder when the lights go on. Guys, when things matter and pitchers' careers are at stake, when the numbers start actually counting, everything gets a little bit sharper, gets a little bit tighter. Same thing on the hitting side. So we just got to make sure that they lead the way.
You've got Barlow, Patton, Snyder, Spores all pitching today, which leads me to this. Is Barlow your closer?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's too early to say. It's too early to say that. It's a unique, bullpen. I would hate to put that on Joe right now. I just want to see this guy go out and execute. I want to see him perform. However that works out to lead up into the season. I've always liked the idea of having a closer, a guy that knows he's going to pitch the ninth inning. I don't know if it's a good thing to have everybody kind of waiting around going, oh, shoot, who's going to close today? Like, when it's like there's something about the closer mentality that from the fifth inning on, you're starting to, build up to that inning, to watch the lineup, see who you're potentially what pocket of hitters you might face, and as it kind of gets there. But if you're not sure you're going to pitch that inning, it's tough to ask. It's the hardest 3 outs in any game, especially against a good team. So I don't want to just say he is. As we stand right now, he could be, but I don't want to put that on him right now.
And what are your other options?
Listen, if we I don't know. I mean, we have guys that fit them, stuff-wise. But like I said, it comes down to execution. So whoever's executing the best, obviously, as we head into the season, obviously Greg Holland on our, if he makes our team, he's closed. He's been an elite closer. If we see that he has the same, pitch characteristics that he had as a closer or something similar to that, we know he can handle that. He's not afraid of that. He's pitched in World Series games. He's closed World Series games. So other than that, Sporesy's got the stuff. Some of these other guys have the stuff to do it. But I don't want to go in saying, okay, this guy's going to be our closer today.